Hi guys, Jim here to tell you everything I know about procedural generation in Star Citizen. We are definitely going to see some new procedural stuff during the CitizenCon livestream, and I think it's going to knock some socks off, but you can also be sure that it won't be adequately explained. I'm here to try to clear up any misconceptions beforehand so everybody knows what we're seeing when we get that sweet demonstration. I'd like to say right now that I am no expert. This is just my understanding of the subject after playing thousands of hours of procedurally created games and reading and watching hundreds upon hundreds of hours of Star Citizen media. There is a good chance I'll make a mistake. If you catch something, put it in the comments along with a link to your source and I'll correct the video as soon as possible. Now, on to procedural generation. Procedural generation is a way of generating data with an algorithm. In gaming, this means that the developer's computer is creating some game data, essentially randomly, so that he or she won't have to. This works great for creating large amounts of lumpy, bumpy terrain, and it allows developers to ignore huge amounts of boring, repetitive work and focus on giving you pretty, handcrafted textures and models for the really important stuff. In Star Citizen, this means that the terrain of every planet in every solar system can be randomly generated. So, instead of spending decades playing God with fake land masses, the developers can focus on getting the Banu Merchantman finished before we all die of old age, or the Singularity creates robot overlords for humanity and all life on Earth becomes a computer-controlled simulation, whichever comes first. You might be thinking that this can work for a game like Minecraft or Terraria, but in a game like Star Citizen, random generation won't cut it. We were promised high levels of detail as well as incredibly vast and numerous planets. What gives? This gives. While the base of each landmass will be procedurally generated, the land will be populated with handcrafted, procedurally distributed assets. What this means is that artists are, right now, creating rocks, trees, animals, chairs, paintings, flags, banners, and people to procedurally sprinkle, or distribute, around the planets we'll be visiting. We've seen a bit of this in No Man's Sky, where we got a bunch of big, rocky planets with some stuff on them. But it was still repetitive because there were still a bajillion planets to fill. No development company has the time to carefully place even a single asset on every one of those planets, so they didn't even try. In Star Citizen, there will be approximately 1 bajillion, give or take 100, fewer star systems to populate, and each one will have much greater detail, a significantly greater population of plants, building, people, mines, ruins, wrecks, satellites, and geographic features, and about 98% less neon than anything in No Man's Sky. In addition to all of the procedurally generated terrain and procedurally distributed, handcrafted assets, there will be other, modular assets that add a level of individuality beyond standard procedural distribution. Developers will be able to place buildings, bases, colonies, satellites, and wrecks with intentional care, or randomly generate layouts, contents, decorations, and inhabitants that adhere to a particular type, like mining outpost, trading station, or pirate camp. And, on top of that, there will be fully crafted, intentionally awesome, unique landing zones on the scale of Port Olisar or Grimhex in every system in the game. This means that each planet, while procedurally generated and mostly covered with procedurally distributed assets, will also be an individual, living, intentional creation. To paraphrase Star Citizen developer Sean Tracy, the tools and rules of procedural generation and distribution should do about 90% of the work, leaving the artists to come in afterward and make each planet something special. According to Chris Roberts, these final touches can be done on the ground from a player's eye view or from orbit, like a painter with a spherical canvas. Developers can pinch and push land masses to create new seas or mountain ranges, rearrange biomes, and paint the landscape with brushes anywhere from a few meters to hundreds of kilometers in size, leaving behind forests, deserts, and swamps with every stroke. When they're finished, if everything has gone according to plan, there will be a vital, living planet. To get an idea of exactly how detailed the planets will be, let's start by looking at the planet we saw during the Gamescom presentation a while back. The lumpy, bumpy, rocky terrain that looks an awful lot like a popular space sim I won't mention is a single layer of procedurally generated terrain. The current goal for Star Citizen is 16 layers. This doesn't mean that each planet will be completely covered by the same 16 layers. The land will be broken up into biomes of desert, mountain, tundra, forest, and whatever else they can think of, each of which will have multiple variations. Forests, for example, might be rainforest, temperate deciduous forest, or subarctic coniferous forests, and each of those will have its own 16-layer combination of awesomeness. In the end, the surface of each planet should be covered with about the same level of detail seen in the most recent Crisis. According to Chris Roberts, we won't be seeing a single layer in the 2016 CitizenCon presentation. It should be something much more detailed. Now, you may be wondering how all of this detail is going to sit comfortably with your processor, GPU, and hard drive. Even in a graphically simplistic game like Minecraft, a small part of a single world can take up several hundred megabytes of hard drive space. How could something like a universe teeming with huge planets rendered in exquisite detail fit into your hard drive? It can't, and it won't have to. The planets will be fully rendered before they're added to the game, and all of these gloriously detailed elements will be stored and maintained by your friendly neighborhood Cloud Imperium Games server. Ideally, all your computer needs to render will be the bits that you can see at any given time. Everybody will be able to see the same mountains, oceans, forests, and plains on a given planet, and, unlike painfully neon games that I could mention, will also be able to see and shoot other players, and the changes you make should persist for all new visitors. And that's the best I can do for Procedural Generation. I hope it helps, and I hope I didn't screw it up too much. Please feel free to leave any questions, rants, diatribes, or concerns in the comments. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next time.